I need to go into this branch of W.H. Smith's in High Wycombe, which is really where the journey today, the adventure today, actually begins. All will become clear very soon. So we're looking for the fantasy section, but they don't seem to be labelled. This is not the Terry Pratchett book that we need for today, which is a shame. Some of you may already have worked out what today's walk is. Not specifically, but broadly. It's not just an epic, classic adventure today. It's not just an adventure to another world. It's an adventure to a parallel world. The disc world. The disc world of Terry Pratchett, who is from this area of High Wycombe, which is where I'm from. Terry Pratchett grew up near Beaconsfield. I think he grew up in 40 Green, went to school in Hotspur. I was born in High Wycombe, grew up in the village next to Hotspur, Woburn Green. I will unpack all of this as we go. But there's a location in the disc world, and I think it's the only one which is mirrored here in our world, and we're going there. And the significance of that branch of W.H. Smith's back there is not only, of course, it would have been Terry Pratchett's branch of W.H. Smith's as well. And some of you might be going, hang on a moment, Terry Pratchett, I've heard of him. Terry Pratchett sold over 100 million books. 100 million books in his lifetime. Sadly passed away in 2015 from early onset dementia. There's a really poignant documentary on the BBC about that part of his life. But he was the best-selling British author of the 1990s. Yeah, over 100 million books. Most of those books were part of the Discworld series. And I went into that Smith's in 1987, in the summer of 1987, just after I finished my O-levels. And I was reading the David Eddings Belgariad series, loved them, consumed them, was reading one a day, finished the series, and I was bereft with a long summer holiday ahead of me, and ended up at a really pivotal moment in my life, a real kind of sliding doors moment, if you like. And I went into that Smith's to see if they had anything else, and somebody said, yeah, well, have you read any Terry Pratchett? This is 1987, so I'm not sure how many Discworld books there would have been, maybe 4 or 5 by then. The first one, Colour and Magic, 1983. This is 4 years later. I go in and I pick up one of them, I'm not sure which one, and it had it was funny. It had a lot of humour in it, and I liked humour, but then I liked fantasy, and I liked my fantasy straight, with no jokes, and so I put it back on the shelf. And I didn't pick up a Terry Pratchett again until I think it was 2 years ago, and I instantly loved it. I thought, God, how different would my life have been if I had Pratchett in it from the age of 16? I've made quite a few videos around High Wycombe that are on my channel here, so I'll put a playlist below where you can watch them all. In fact, really, this channel effectively starts with a project I did here with my sister. We did that project 2004, 2005, and then I started this channel as a way to kind of share some of the documentation from that psychogeographical project, remapping High Wycombe. And this rather grand building here, just on the edge of the town centre, was the High Wycombe Technical High School, which is where Terry Pratchett went to school after he passed his 11 plus. It's also where my dad went to school as well after passing his 11 plus, but my dad's a bit older than Terry Pratchett, well, significantly older, I think, at 10 or 15 years. But they did share a teacher from primary school, and I guess they must have shared teachers, thinking about it, from here, from the tech, as my dad calls it. And here we have the wonderful old medieval ruins of the Hospital of St John the Baptist, which dates from 1180, just in the grounds of the tech. And our walk is really starting along the old main London to Oxford road, High Wycombe being pretty much exactly halfway between London and Oxford. And we've got a walk of about 2.5 miles, more or less, along this road, along the A40, to get to the start of our walk, the location we're really looking for. This is obviously the start of the walk, but you know what I mean, the target location is 2.3 miles from here. The more bucolic route to our location, I'm holding it off because I'm going to tell you in a minute properly, but the more bucolic route is there across the Rhine along the back, but I did that walk a year ago. I've done it several times, and I did a walk along the River Wye, which is there, just in the foreground. The other side of the road is the River Wye, and I walked all the way along there from its source out to where it makes its confluence with the Thames. That was a walk I did last May, almost exactly a year ago actually. But I think I'm just going to pound it along the road. And all of that over there is really quite extensively covered in other videos. And it's one of these things where I've just grasped the nettle late in the day. About 1 o'clock I was at home, I was like, I'm going to do the walk. I'm going to walk up Sniggs Alley. So it's about 4 o'clock now. Sunset's at 8:30. And this was a walk suggested to me by Nick Green via a comment. And I knew the name Sniggs Alley, but I just hadn't made the link to Pratchett. And it's a place in his fictional Discworld, the parallel Discworld where the Discworld series takes place in the city of Ankh-Morpork. I think that's how it's pronounced, Ankh-Morpork, the principal city of the Discworld. And it's a street in Ankh-Morpork, Sniggs Alley. I think I read somewhere that it's the only one which the name is directly taken from a place on Earth, because it would have run near Pratchett's house, and it's a beautiful walk. I do know it, I just didn't know that was what it was. So I think what we'll do is we'll walk up Sniggs Alley through Discworld up to the ancient village of Penn, and I think we'll turn then for 40 Green with one of the pubs that claims to be the oldest in England, and from there we will go to Beaconsfield. So a great day lies ahead. The sacred River Wye. King George V pub. Sign for Loudwater over there, which is the location of Terry Pratchett's Sniggs Alley in this world. Hopefully at the other end of it we'll emerge into the Discworld, right? This is a kind of crucial point in the walk as we try to find Sniggs Alley. The difficulty is, it's not called that on a map, and it's sort of, but it's one of those things that people, is known to the locals as Sniggs Alley, of which Terry Pratchett was one. Also my dad, so I'm going to follow my dad's directions, which include a reference to Hancock's Yard. Of course, Hancock's Yard isn't there anymore. It's his friends who owned it. I worked there actually as a builder's yard, but now it's a Tesco's. There's an alleyway opposite that. That will take us to Sniggs Alley. So that massive Tesco's down there is the site of Hancock's builder's yard, and this is the footpath opposite. Dad said it's called Folly's Place. This must be it. Actually, I don't know this footpath. I'm not sure I've ever been up here before. Maybe once in 1997, but I'll overlay this as a screen grab because you won't be able to see it from the screen. But Dad says the footpath opposite Hancock's Yard, Burley House, which I just passed back there, which I know some of you will be going, oh, Burley House is famous, but you can't see anything from the road. Footpath, across the train line to the field with Larkin's Orchard on the far side. Could join Sniggs Alley. Pratchett lived at 40 Green. Okay, this is the footpath that leads towards Sniggs Alley. And this is what I needed today, to be out somewhere like this. One of the first really lovely warm days of the year. It's 5:10 and we'll be walking into the sunset in the hills, in the Chiltern Hills. I'm not sure what this plant is here, but it's completely consumed the path. But I'm going to have to crack through it. But unfortunately for me, it's the first day of short season. So, yeah, I'm going to feel it. But I don't know if, well, I can't see an alternative really. I feel like hacking through those giant plants like that is exactly a kind of Pratchett-like scenario that Rincewind the Wizard and his magical luggage would have had to have gone through. I'm already worried that This is not the right, it's very overgrown. I guess it's because it's been wet and sunny. But I'm also wondering whether it's the right way. That was one of those beautiful moments where I wish I was wearing a body cam, because just in that thicket there, I just saw a deer looking at me, quite a big deer actually, and it scuppered off into the undergrowth. What a lovely moment. When I looked at this walk on the map, I thought that's a relatively straightforward walk, straight up. But actually the footpath I've taken up down that side of the field, thinking, oh, I'll just carry straight. Of course, that's parallel to the road. The path now loops around this horse field, so I'll carry on round and then I go up that side. So actually, yeah, it's fine. It's all good, I think. So I hacked through those giant weeds for nothing. But it has given me a beautiful view of the valley from up here, which I suppose I would have gotten anyway. But funny, eh? Funny. There are other ways to get to Sniggs Alley. In fact, my dad says, you know, I could have done this walk in reverse and got off the train at Beaconsfield and joined it at 40 Green, which is where Pratchett lived, I believe, as a child, and where the walk will not end. I'll go back through there to Beaconsfield. I'm now walking through some hawthorn bushes, which again, the legs are getting a fair old christening today, aren't they? But it's just beautiful to be out here in the fields. That's kind of had the urge to do it. And I thought, if I'm going to go out in the fields and do a walk, I'm going to take you with me, and I might as well make it meaningful and do this. So, first one of the summer. And look, here we go. Proper gates, proper Bucks County Council footpath sign. And this is exactly the time of day we would have done walks like this when I was a kid, growing up, in sort of like late afternoon, early evening. Fantastic railway bridge. I thought we went under the railway line, now we go over it. Wow, so beautiful. This is just half an hour by train from London, from Marylebone. I just spoke to my dad on the phone. He just returned my call. He confirmed this is the right way. Well, actually, he said stick to your left, but I can't. The fact he didn't instantly recognise this field from my description does worry me a little bit. But he said he told me where Sniggs Alley actually starts, where this footpath becomes Sniggs Alley, up here at Derham's Farm. It's marked on all the maps, should be no problem. And he said, I've got to have a pint at the Royal Standard of England in 40 Green, which is a pub that claims to be the oldest in England. There are several that claim the same thing. There's a lovely little lamb over there, hiding behind its mum. It's a very sweet scene. There is a vehicle, a fully fledged vehicle in the undergrowth there. You see it? I'm not sure if it's a tractor or it could be a car. Anyway, that, I think, on the other side of that vehicle is Sniggs Alley. I take that as a good omen. You have to excuse the pun for those of you that get it. Yeah, so here it is. Sniggs Alley. A place of legend, a place that exists in both our world and the disc world. Wow. Now, if ever I were going to use that tiny planet feature that makes the world go round on my 360 camera, it's going to be here. So those of you that don't like it, you have to forgive me here. It's completely justifiable.
And this is from Sorcery. He could have kept going. He could have walked up the stairs, out into the street, got a pizza from the Clatchian takeaway in Sniggs Alley, and gone to bed.
So as I mentioned back there in High Wycombe, Sniggs Alley is a place in Pratchett's city of Ankh-Morpork. I think that's how it's pronounced, Ankh-Morpork. There is a BBC adaptation of some of the novels called the Night's Watch, I think it's called, or The Watch. They're just called The Watch, which was, I loved it. It was brilliant. It got cancelled after one season, so if I can find that, it has the correct pronunciation of Ankh-Morpork. But those of you that know the Discworld series will know Ankh-Morpork is a place of vice, a den of iniquity, a place of crime and corruption, and sort of really smelly place. The Ankh is a river, nothing like the crystal waters of the River Wye back there. So Sniggs Alley, the real Sniggs Alley, this one, you know, it's interesting that he took the name. I guess he was just thinking of the name. It's a good name. It's a great name. It is a great name. So as we walk along here, we can think that Pratchett would have walked this way as a teenager, I guess. There's something vaguely Pratchett-like about all the flock of birds. Is it crows or rooks? I was getting confused. They're all swirling around that tree. I guess it must be a rookery, I'm supposing. Of course, the Chilterns has become the land of the red kite, thanks to a brilliantly successful effort to reintroduce them, and now they're like sparrows, but I haven't seen any today, so I don't know what's going on there. What's going on over here? It looks like, is that people coming down the hill on a bike, or is it some grown-ups in a pram? Seems quite unusual. Or maybe it's just perfectly normal. It's just, yes, I'm imagining Discworld reality. It's just two people riding a bike across a field. Here the path splits. I think this is the direction we want to go in. It takes us to Penn. And then that way, I would say, must take us back down towards Holtspur, Woburn Green, where I grew up. So I think we want to keep going up to Penn and then 40 Green. That's the idea. Let me check the map though. So carrying on up here, there is a little bit of a dilemma. I just spoke to my dad on the phone again. This is Sniggs Alley all the way up to Penn, I believe. And that was my idea, was to go up to Penn and then basically come back. But I just noticed there's a footpath to the right that goes up to 40 Green, and Dad says that's where Terry Pratchett lived, and so he would have come into Sniggs Alley from that path. So kind of give me a dilemma now. Do I take that path to 40 Green, or do I go up to Penn just to kind of walk back to 40 Green? Dilemma. It's 6:10, by the way. That's the path to 40 Green over those fields there. And this is the continuation of Sniggs Alley up to Penn. Oh, what a dilemma. Let me sit down and have a think about it. My mind has been made up. Yeah, I'm going this way. My mind was made up by a young lady who was coming down the path, and I said, oh, I don't know what to do. Do I carry on up to Penn, or do I go up this way? And she went, oh, it's really nice up there. You should go up there. It's exactly what my dad said. So there you go, we've been to Sniggs Alley, we've seen Sniggs Alley. Now we're following Terry Pratchett's footsteps back to 40 Green. The walk he would have done, I guess, as a teenager and as a young man working for the Bucks Free Press. That's how I'm pitching, diverting off Sniggs Alley up to here. I kind of feel this is what Rincewind would do, but then again, Rincewind gets into all sorts of bother. This has got to be the way. What a stunning view from up here. Absolutely stunning. I'm now on the Chiltern Way for a short section. We're just going to turn down this field here towards Lude Farm, which is a name I remember from childhood. Interestingly, this is the Berkshire loop of the Chiltern Way, so I guess Berkshire isn't that far away. I didn't realise the Chiltern Way went into Berkshire. Definitely the right decision to come this way. Cutting across the fields to 40 Green and the Royal Standard, hopefully. Fantastic kind of chalk track that's going to lead us across the fields. Wow. Because I spend most of my year tramping around London, which I love it more than anything. But I have to remember sometimes that I am a child of the Chilterns. I grew up here. These very hills, the village where I grew up is just, well, we looked over it earlier when there was those beautiful views and the folding valley. I grew up down there. So I need to get out here a couple of times a year, re-engage with that part of myself, you know. I'll be back in the industrial estates before you know it. Or around the city of London. Looking for holy wells, that's coming up. See, that's the kind of signage that I really need, because I might have carried on along the track there. In fact, I probably would have done, but it's saying no, you've definitely got to go down there. Problem is, it just deferred the dilemma. I can carry straight on, I think. I can turn left. I know I don't want to go left, because that's going straight back up to Penn. But do I go across that field there, or do I turn right here? I think I go straight on, but I'm going to check the map just in case. Yes, this is the correct way to go. Has to be, look at it, such a beautiful footpath. Just passing through a little strip of woodland now at 7 o'clock, around 7 o'clock anyway, as I come up to 40 Green. We'll just go along this little lane now, and that should take us to the Royal Standard, where I think we're obliged to have a pint. That was part of the motivation for coming this way, I won't lie. So here's the Royal Standard of England, which claims to be the oldest pub in England. How many times have I mentioned that in this video? But it's also where I spent my 18th birthday, the actual day of my 18th birthday, in there with my family. Like it says there on the sign, for over 900 years has been a pub here. So who would dispute that, eh? That's where I sat on my 18th, down there. Well, that was incredibly restorative. Lovely pint of Chiltern's Pale Ale. And now I'm going to try and find my way back to Beaconsfield. It's not very far, to be honest with you. It's about a half-hour walk. I'd forgotten just what an amazing old pub the Royal Standard is, and I heard the staff there repeating for a tourist place. It's full of Americans. It's full of tourists, which is obvious. It's close to London, and actually a lot of American people live around here. My dad was gardening in this area. A lot of time he would end up gardening for American families that were working for large American companies, corporations, and they would inevitably end up living around Beaconsfield, Gerrards Cross, that kind of thing. Such a fantastic pub though, such a fantastic, and it really, when you're in there, it really feels oldie worldy. And I remembered the table that I sat in on my 18th birthday. Yeah, it's incredible. I am now awash in nostalgia and memory, which I won't bother you with. You came here for Pratchett, I would have thought. And this is where Terry Pratchett grew up. This is 40 Green. We will sort of, I think, we'll see the village, possibly. My memories of this area around here are mostly at night time in a car, being driven, because I never drove, obviously, as a kid, or as a teenager. We'll take a footpath at some point from 40 Green directly to Beaconsfield. Yeah, I nearly recorded a pub chat there. I thought, it's not really, I couldn't really do it. It was a quiet pub. I thought, no, it's not the vibe. Lots of people having sort of nice dinners there in those woody interiors. So this is the village of 40 Green, and we're going to go up 40 Green Road, just up here, up to 40 Green Road, and then we're going to turn off for a footpath, which I hope is here. The funniest thing, if you'd have been watching, just happened. I got a really lucky escape. I stood there in that hedgerow, filming the 40 Green sign, and a bee flew up the sleeve of my shirt and got stuck in the sleeve of my shirt, and I could hear it buzzing around inside my shirt. So I quickly just tried to lift my sleeve away so it could fly down, and it went into my shirt. So then I was like, I could hear this bee panicking and buzzing inside my shirt. I thought, stay really calm. So I had to then completely unbutton my shirt whilst bending forward and lifting my shirt up to allow the bee to fly. And it took it a while to find its way out. I'm thinking, well, any moment I'm going to get stung, obviously. I'm thinking, where do I not want to get stung? I mean, anywhere, but you know. that was quite funny. Luckily, I managed to not get stung. The bee escaped and flew off into the night. Right, I think this is my footpath here. So this is the footpath. I feel like I've walked down here. I feel like I walked down here in a video, but I can't have done, can I? I don't think. So this footpath takes us into Beaconsfield, Newtown. Now, Dad said apparently Terry Pratchett mentions Hogback Wood in his memoir. Don't know how Dad knows that, but yeah. So I think this must be the wood that he mentions. I think Hogback Wood is actually further down, but we'll take it as that. And actually, here's a shot for the Pratchett fans of what there is of 40 Green. It's a pretty small village, I think. That was the path that leads down to Hogback Wood, apparently mentioned by Terry Pratchett. But this is the path I need to take me to Beaconsfield, Newtown and Beaconsfield Station. This is an amazing path, worth it just to come up this way. No wonder Terry Pratchett wrote such epic stories. It's 8 o'clock, by the way. Yes, so this is Hogback Wood that Terry Pratchett mentions in his memoir. I think Dad got that reference from the BBC documentary, which I think is still on the iPlayer if memory serves me right. We go along this delightful footpath here, which I think eventually brings us out right opposite Beaconsfield Station. These streets here are so quiet. Not a sound, not a soul around, just the sound of the birds. Some strange bloke in a cap walking through the alleyway. This is such a lovely path that cuts through all these little kind of cul-de-sacs and suburban streets. It must be the original path that ran through the woods that was saved when they built the housing here. That's all I can imagine. Isn't that a wonderful bit of, I don't know if it is serendipity, where the footpath comes out right near Beaconsfield, Newtown, it brings us out to here, to Beaconsfield Library. Actually, and Terry Pratchett apparently always listed his education as being at Beaconsfield Library. I doubt it was this one. This looks like a fairly modern one, doesn't it? Bearing in mind that I think he was born in 1948. But even so, it's lovely to come here to Beaconsfield Library. Isn't it lovely? I walked away and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to look through the window to see if there's any reference to Terry Pratchett. And what should I find on the wall here? One of the wonderful Maud Milton's brilliant mosaics. Many of you hopefully will know about Maud and will have seen the video I made about her practice. She was making the mosaic roundels for the London Overground. She's a brilliant, brilliant person, Maud, a resident of Walthamstow. And here is one of her fantastic mosaic murals made with the community, using words relevant to the area, and of course, there is Terry Pratchett. I'm going to sign off here because we're just coming into Beaconsfield, Newtown. And I know some people will go, you say Beaconsfield, it's Beaconsfield. I just grew up saying Beaconsfield, I'm an oik. Yeah, because it's coming up to 8:30, sunset's going to get dark in a minute. I might try and find another pint, but the problem with Beaconsfield Old Town, there's no pubs. Sorry, the problem with Beaconsfield Newtown is there's no pubs. There's sort of some bars or a wine bar, but there's no actual pub. The pubs are all in the Old Town, which is where I used to drink between the ages of 16 and 18. That was my, happy years. Beaconsfield Station's basically just dead opposite. It's 50 yards from where I am. So thank you so much for joining me on that walk. What a lovely ending, seeing Maud Milton's mosaic there at the end. Isn't that beautiful? bump into her mosaics everywhere I go. That was a glorious walk for me. I hope you enjoyed it too. I need to do those kind of things where I just go on an impulse and it's beautiful. Thank you for you watching these videos. Thank you for indulging me. And that's a bit of a crazy ride sometimes, isn't it? We're in the City of London looking for lost Roman rivers, and then we're walking. Where else were we? Where were we last? I don't even remember where we were last. We were on the London Loop, and we're walking the Regent's Canal. I have no idea where we're going to be next week. I have some ideas, but I've no idea actually. There'll be a pub chat probably before you watch this one. I won't waffle on now. I'll say goodbye. Thank you for joining me on this walk. And I won't forget to say, I look forward to joining you on the next walk, wherever that may be. I should do those t-shirts. That wonderful person made me a design and never put them on the t-shirts. I need to change the merch supplier. Now I'm doing admin. The Beaconsfield station's over there.
It's over the meadow, over the stream, it's where I am going and where I have been. It's been a long day now, it's time for a beer, and now for home, of course I must steer. It's over the meadow, over the stream, I hope you are pleased with what you have seen. How's that?